I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness. Mr. Engineer, bring up that video regarding where the judge rules that Trump committed fraud and lied about his net worth. Bring it up.
So this evening, in an extraordinary and rare move, a New York State judge found that Donald Trump committed fraud without even needing a trial and a jury to weigh in on the evidence. In the civil lawsuit brought by New York State Attorney General Letitia James, the judge found the ex-president committed years-long business fraud, inflated his assets to get favorable loans and insurance deals. The judge agreed with the state attorney general, and the ruling is, frankly, scathing. The judge writes that, quote, in Trump's world, rent-regulated apartments are worth the same as unregulated apartments. Restricted land is worth the same as unrestricted land. Restrictions can evaporate into thin air. That is a fantasy world, not the real world. The judge granted summary judgment on specifically the fraud claim, meaning the attorney general's office proved or provided so much overwhelming evidence, the judge ruled it does not even need to go to trial. Like, that's it, you got me, I'm convinced. Now, here's the other thing. As a remedy, the judge also ordered the cancellation of Donald Trump's business certificates in New York. And this ruling tonight means the Trump organization in New York,
now,
at least, is...
Just something, if you could pause for a second. This is quite chilling. Pardon me. This judge that ruled that Trump's business practices, pardon me, Trump's business practices in New York for years was based purely on fraud, on lies, and more fraud. And I think we all knew that. I think there's a foregone conclusion that's what Trump did. But when I heard the verdict yesterday that the judge had ruled in a summary judgment, but the judge also canceled Trump's business certificate. That is to say, to run an LLC, you have to be incorporated. The state has to recognize your corporation for your taxes, what your tax status is, what level of LLC or limited liability corporation you are. And Trump has a lot of them because he runs a lot of different businesses. But all of them that have the Trump name or Eric Trump or Donald Trump Jr. have been canceled. In other words, Trump can't do business in New York anymore. I mean, that's chilling. And you're going to hear also the reporter is going to talk about how his properties like Trump Tower, 40 Wall Street, will be placed into receivership. This is devastating. Now, I'm sure Trump is taking some moves to try to deal with this, but I think that, I try to explain this if you're just a layperson and maybe not know a lot about business practices. This fraud charge that Trump, and then canceling his business license, like taking away his Con Edison, taking away, he can't even do business. He can't buy or sell. Go ahead, Mr. Angel. Let's hear the rest of it from Chris Hayes.
Basically facing legal extinction, I think. Lisa Rubin is a former litigator, now an MSNBC legal analyst. Charles Coleman prosecuted civil cases on behalf of the U.S. government, now as a civil rights and criminal defense attorney. They both join me now. Charles, let me just start with you on, in civil litigation, parties will ask for summary judgment, the motion to dismiss, summary judgment. How often does the plaintiff get a judge being like, I've seen enough?
Right. It is extraordinarily rare that this occurs. Summary judgment, as a notion, as you were just talking about, is one of the things that routinely is filed but isn't always granted. And when you find it being granted, it's almost the equivalent of hitting a home run on the first pitch.
Right.
It's that significant to lose on summary judgment. And so I think there's something to be noted there, of course. But what is also important and noteworthy is the fact that there were sanctions for Trump's attorneys attached to this order. That in and of itself is incredibly significant because judges are very much so loath to give out sanctions. And they make a very compelling case as to why sanctions were issued here.
I want to come back to the sanctions because this is also a theme we've seen in Trump litigation, is like sanctions against attorneys. Which again, just doesn't happen.
You could drop that for just a second. I want to read a clip I took off of Truth Social, Trump's website, and posted by him. And it reads from yesterday, regarding yesterday's decision by the judge. Trump writes, and I have a deranged Trump-hating judge who railroaded this fake case, all in capitals, through a New York state court at a speed never seen before, refusing to let it go to the commercial division where it belongs. Deny me everything. No trial, no jury. He made this crazy kill Trump decision assigning insanely low value to properties despite overwhelming evidence. As an example, he values the most spectacular property in Palm Beach, Florida, Mar-a-Lago, at $18 million when it's worth possibly 100 times that amount. Let me just pause for just a second. Do we have Mar-a-Lago, a picture of Mar-a-Lago? I want to say this to you. I at the risk of perhaps this being brought up against me in trial with respect to the complaint we filed against the Mellon Bank of New York and the City of New York regarding the unjust, discriminatory, predatory, and unconstitutional tax lien that they filed against the Bethel Community Church property here on 123rd Street. And the amount of money that we have asked for in damages is $70 million plus interest. Now, the New York State assessment, who do real property assessments, reported to the New York State Court judge that Mar-a-Lago is worth $18 million, and only $18 million is what it's worth on the market. And Trump is upset that they valued it at $18 million and said it's worth 100 times that, bringing it up to, $180 million, if you will. But I want to say this. We're going to be successful in our complaint of the violations of my rights against the Bank of New York Mellon and the City of New York. We're going to be successful. God is on our side. The truth is even on the side of God. And should we receive that $18 million, that $70 million, I'm going to buy Mar-a-Lago. I'm going to buy Mar-a-Lago, and my primary use of Mar-a-Lago will be to turn it into a school, but mainly for Haitian migrants. And Palm Beach probably wouldn't like that. Their zoning and coding maybe wouldn't want all those Haitian people coming and people coming down from Harlem, because it's a sprawling piece of property, Mar-a-Lago is. But I commit this to you, and this may be used against me in court, but it's in my heart and I'm not afraid to speak it. We win, and we're going to win. I think that even the Mellon Bank will realize at some point in time that just go ahead and settle this matter and give us the funds. So we're going to win. And I'm going to buy Mar-a-Lago. I'm going to buy Mar-a-Lago. I said several years ago that we would buy Mar-a-Lago, but with those funds. And I'm going to turn it into a school, perhaps one of our first colleges, Mar-a-Lago College or ATLAH College on Palm Beach. We probably have to go through a lot of red tape to get that done. But this will be perhaps one of our colleges that we will, campuses rather, that will be used for a college. I am going to buy Mar-a-Lago. You say, Pastor Manning, you speak a lot of lofty things. Well, we received that $70 million. This would be less than a third of that amount. And look what we would end up with, a great property like this. And we'd probably get a lot of tax abatements because we would buy it for a not-for-profit organization and use it for a not-for-profit organization. We'll have to further define what would be the best use of it, but it would not be a country club or resort. It will be used for educational purposes and for purposes of developing people to become better citizens. I commit to you, I will buy, or we will, I should say, ATLAH, better yet, will buy Mar-a-Lago. That we will do, because it's going into receivership anyway. So let me read the rest of what Trump says. Let me start over again. It says, I have a deranged Trump-hating judge who railroaded this fake fake case through New York City court at a speed never even seen before, refusing to let it go to the commercial division where it belongs, denying me everything, no trial, no jury. He made up this crazy kill Trump decision, assigning insanely low value to properties despite overwhelming evidence. As an example, he values the most spectacular property in Palm Beach, Florida, Mar-a-Lago, at $18 million, which, when it's worth possibly 100 times that amount. His anger and hatred is politically motivated and unprecedented by those who watched. My actual net worth is much greater than the number shown on the financial statements, a big surprise to him and the racist Attorney General Letitia James, who campaigned for office on a Get Trump platform while murderers roam the sidewalks of New York. My banks are happy, all loans are current or paid off in full, sometimes early with no defaults or problems of any kind. There is also an ironclad disclaimer clause. Mr. Engineer, I want to, let's see, I think that I had a video of Trump and Letitia James. I guess I don't see it on my list here today. Do you have it? Yeah, could you run that video? Because Trump has said that Letitia James ran a campaign for the Attorney General for the state of New York, vowing that she would get him. I think this video is a little bit doctored. Let me warn you. I think it's doctored just a bit to make it say what perhaps Trump would want it to say, but I'm going to let it run anyway. Go ahead, Mr. Engineer.
When he leaves office as a private citizen, he will no longer have presidential immunity.
Can we actually get him?
The New York Attorney General has joined the Manhattan District Attorney.
Days of this president are numbered.
Claims that you campaigned on a Get Trump agenda.
And we will rise up together and we will resist this president. Bring him down.
Stay tuned.
All right, so he's got Attorney General Letitia James saying they're going to bring Trump down. So that's running across social media now, and it's probably very viral rather. But let me conclude this segment by saying that ATLAH will buy Mar-a-Lago. We had purposed to buy it at some point in time. And this fight, let me also state that this fight that we're having in the courts here in New York, the battle is the Lord's, and I said in an earlier segment that I cannot be defeated. And I can't, because God's word cannot be defeated. It doesn't mean that it will not be attacked. I didn't say that. It didn't mean that every day will be sunshiny and every month will be the month of May kind of a thing. That's not what I'm saying, but it cannot be defeated. But that's what I will do with the funding. I will also help people get housing here in Harlem to restore. I will help people start businesses. And maybe I'll speak a little bit more about this on Saturday at the worship and tonight at the prayer meeting. But that's what we will do with the funding that we know we're going to receive as a result of this matter that we have in complaint against the city of New York and the Bank of New York Mellon. Help people get housing, start schools, and help some migrants. Haiti is a nation that's in desperate need, and we would want to be able to help those immediately. So pray for us as we go forward in this matter.